Video games have become a huge part of American culture, and every video game system up to this point has utilized gaming controllers to play the game. One of the very earliest video game controllers was the Atari 2600, which featured an 8-directional joystick and one action button. Games were not very complex at this time, so the limited controls were not an issue. Nintendo offered the first controller, which was actually the prototype for most of the video game controllers that are offered today. It had no joysticks, but it did have a 4-directional pad and featured 2 game buttons. Since then, controls have changed quite a bit. The buttons have multiplied from 1 to 2 to 6, and most modern controllers have at least 8 game buttons, and that's not even including the mini joysticks that are on most of the controllers now. Controllers now have only become wireless, but even interactive. Controllers today feature things like button sensitivity, which requires a gamer to use the right amount of pressure on buttons. Vibrating controllers also let you feel like you're more part of the game when the action picks up. And the newest craze right now is motion sensor controllers, such as the Wii Remote, that actually detects when you move the controller and the motion you make is projected onto the game. Every few years there's a development in control technology, and later this year, video game controlling and interaction will be taken to a whole new level.
Has this ever happened to you?
Man, this is so boring. Oh, I just wish there was a more interactive way of playing video games.
Well, now there is.
Really? Tell us more. I'm so happy. What is this Project Natal? Well, Project Natal is a revolutionary new gaming technology that is being developed by Microsoft for use on the Xbox 360 and will be the first ever true gaming experience that doesn't require any type of hand controller. This new device can detect almost any movement by the player that can be translated into control of an in-game character or tool. This will allow Xbox 360 players the exciting new ability to feel more involved in the games like they are actually within the games themselves. The motion sensor technology is really big on the Wii, and up until now there hasn't really been any competition for the Wii. Project Natal is Microsoft's response, and it offers an even greater sense of connection within games, as you can utilize your entire body to enjoy a game. Project Natal will not be released until this up-and-coming holiday season, but game developers are already starting to get in line behind this technology.
Natal uses motion capture, or mocap technology. This process uses 2 or more cameras to record movement and translates that into a digital model. Early motion capture was used in creating Disney movies. Animators would trace over film footage of live actors and to create a more realistic animation. The first time use of motion capture with a computer was in 1982. Students from MIT and the New York Institute of Technology experimented with optical trackers attached to specific spots on the body. These trackers are use either LEDs or reflector dots. The camera captures these reflectors in the 3D space and translates that into a computer graphics for animators to work with. Now, most if not all video games use motion capture, but new game systems are taking even further. The Wii, Sony Move, and Microsoft's Natal are using live motion capture to control your character on screen. The Wii and Move use LEDs and reflector dots on the controllers to sense your movements. Now, Natal throws that out and makes the player's body the controller.
Who can use it? Obviously, video games these days are not just for kids. The themes of games range from simple kids games to mature-rated games with dark themes. Also, the Nintendo Wii drew a new crowd of gamers with its level of interaction, and one group was middle-aged women who use it as a means of exercise. It won't be surprising if Microsoft develops games that will capture the attention of a crowd they weren't intending to reach before. Sports and action games will appeal to the video game industry's key demographic of teenagers and early 20-year-old gamers. In addition, they are developing platform gamers that appeal to gamers of all ages. Simply put, pretty much anyone can use it. In fact, I'm going to use it right now.
So how does Project Natal work? The technology behind Project Natal is basically the same technology behind the Nintendo Wii Remote, only more sophisticated. Both utilize motion sensing technology, which allows users to be more interactive with the game. But with the Wii, you have to use it holding the remote, and it only really detects the motion of the remote and not the individual themselves. Nintendo Wii has a small sensor bar which detects the motion in the remote. For instance, if you were playing Wii bowling, you would go underhand and forward with your hand, and basically how you would do it in regular bowling. And the ball comes out on the screen, and not only does it detect underhand and forward motion, but it would also detect the spin you give it, and just like in real bowling. And there would be a good bit of technique involved, just like in real bowling. Like the Wii, Project Natal has a small sensor bar which will connect to the bottom of the television set. The sensor is similar to the Wii's, but it is more advanced in several ways. There are three key components to Project Natal's sensor. One is the RGB camera, which is a specialized camera which uses sensors to detect 3 color signals. And this basically will be used for facial recognition. The other 2 components are an infrared projector and something called a CMOS depth sensor, which will work in conjunction with each other to create a 3D scan of the room and to detect individual movement with full body tracking. And reportedly is so precise that it can detect individual finger movement. It also has voice recognition, so you can yell out commands and even talk to other gamers when playing multiplayer online games. So the functionality and possibilities of this device are almost limitless. In Madden NFL games, a gamer can simulate QB throwing a football and even catching one. In baseball games, throwing a pitch and swinging a bat. In action-adventure games, swinging a sword or firing a gun. There are pretty much no limits to how far this technology can go in the future.
Lag time in this case refers to how far behind the action is in the game from when you actually make it. Control schemes with regular games have issues at times, and developers could struggle out of the gate getting games to work properly with the new technology. Possibilities seem endless. One has to wonder about limitations. What about games that require you to dive, jump, and do other crazy things? I don't think parents want to see their kids diving over coffee tables and breaking lamps while they play a game. Do you?
Will gamers actually feel more comfortable playing a video game without an actual controller? Will gamers feel more comfortable swinging a fake bat and firing a fake gun? I'm sure people will get over this, but the feeling of playing with no controller may turn some people off. The Nintendo Wii is what is pushing Microsoft to jump to the motion sensory gaming race. But how will Project Natal affect the rest of the industry? Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft are always looking to outdo each other. So where does it go from here?
Project Natal is hard to gauge right now because the technology is not yet available to consumers, and the details of the project have been kept under wraps by Microsoft.
What we do know is, while the technology is state-of-the-art, it's very similar to the Wii technology, only more advanced.
Natal is going to be released this December. While there's a lot of buzz surrounding it, there's also still a lot of questions. Questions that can only be answered with time.
This has been Team 2's video project presentation. I hope you learned something.